Welcome all. In this video, we're just going to be talking about the First Amendment. But instead of making this video about me and how I express the First Amendment, I wanted to allow other people to tell us how they express the First Amendment. And so I asked my friends, I asked my family, I asked my classmates, uh, I asked basically anyone who would respond just how they would what they think the First Amendment is and how they use the First Amendment. And so I just want to let people speak and amplify their voices as a journalist.
To me, the First Amendment means that I'm able to speak freely without fear of being punished by the government. It allows me to do things like talk about politics and criticize the government without having to fear being jailed or facing other punishments.
What the First Amendment means to me is being able to live in a free society that gives people the right to speak out what they think is right or wrong.
To me, the First Amendment means that we can be ourselves. We don't have to follow these guidelines that basically force ourselves to be someone we're not. We can be ourselves, we can speak freely, we don't have to worry about repercussions for, just being who we are.
My name is Brandon, one of Max's friends, and what I think the First Amendment means is just the freedom of speech and the freedom to do what you want and express who you are and just basically show who you are to other people.
What does the First Amendment mean to me? The First Amendment means to say what you want to say whenever you want. The freedom to speak your mind, because your mind is uniquely yours. And without your mind, you're nothing. So to be able to freely speak what you think is to be able to be who you are.
Just as important as our interpretation of the First Amendment is also how we express ourselves with the First Amendment. And so, as a follow-up question, I asked everyone how they express themselves using the First Amendment. And the answers varied a lot, but they all came back to them and how they're unique and how by the First Amendment helps them be who they are by allowing them to be who they are and to be unique and to put themselves out there.
Honestly, I use my First Amendment rights like every day. Whether I'm talking to, like, friends or families, I'm using friends or family members, I'm using my First Amendment rights. And then I also like to discuss politics pretty often, so that the First Amendment allows me to do so freely without having to worry about anything like jail time.
I practice my First Amendment by my classes in film studies, by teachers letting me use my own ideas and not censoring my work.
I practice these every day, just going out talking to people, just being true to ourselves, being true to the people around us, and just posting stuff online too. I'm just talking to the world pretty much.
One example I could think of is posting on Instagram, and that's how I exercise my First Amendment rights. Thank you.
Some ways I like to express my First Amendment right. I love just to say things. Opinions, quotes, anything at all. There's just one quote from this movie. It says, "Don't feel failure. Be afraid to not have the chance." I did not say that right. But not being able to say that right is part of my First Amendment right. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to be right to say it. And that's protected by the First Amendment. Thank you.
There were also some people who didn't want to be on camera or didn't feel comfortable speaking, but they did feel comfortable texting me or writing me their thoughts on the First Amendment. And I think that their voices should still be amplified. So I just want to read out some of their responses. To me, the First Amendment is a way for me to express myself. the way I practice my beliefs, traditions, and religion. To me, the First Amendment was the foundation to America's melting pot, and the reason why our history is so rich. Because each of us as individuals express our beliefs and traditions, which integrates into others, hence creating America's melting pot. As a Christian, being able to attend church, celebrate holidays, and to be able to have those days off is how I express my First Amendment. I guess the First Amendment to me means that I have the freedom to express myself with like my opinions and religion and all that stuff. But right now, it kind of doesn't feel that way, which is pretty sad. I'm using my First Amendment right by expressing my opinion in school about a ton of stuff, and I also use it to freely practice my religion. Overall, the First Amendment means a lot of things to a lot of people, and how we choose to express ourselves is uniquely our decision, and it's our decision alone. And that, in my opinion, is the power of the First Amendment, because it allows you to be you. And I know that might sound cliche, but it is kind of a unique and modern idea, because that wasn't always the case.